What's going on, world? Welcome back to another episode of the Kingdom Housing Podcast, where we interview real people who are making a real difference through housing. Today's special guest is no other than Sandra, who's out in Florida. She already has her first home up and running, but she talks about the importance of just simply taking action. She waited for years before opening up her first home, and she wished she would have got started back when she first had the thought. Let's go ahead and dive into this episode. What's going on, Sandra? Welcome into the podcast. How are you doing today?
I am well, thank you for asking. And yourself?
Blessed by the best. Appreciate you asking. Excited to connect with you. So I want to start off by, asking for the people out there who may not be familiar with your story. Can you share a little bit more about, what life looked like before you started in the group home business?
I've been a nurse for about 30 years or so and a nurse practitioner for the last 5 or 6. I originally West Indian background, but I grew up in New York and I've been in Florida since 2020. I became a widow in 2011 and since then, have just kind of embarked on doing random things. And when I became a nurse practitioner, I noted that, you talk to patients about the same thing all the time. Why are you not taking your blood pressure medicine? Why is your blood sugar high? Why? And it occurred to me that a lot of times, if your housing is not stable, it's hard to be concerned about your blood pressure or your blood sugar,
So
right?
true.
People don't know where they're going to live, where they're going to sleep. They're not trying to focus on medications and insulins and things like that. I think that kind of propelled me to kind of think about a solution, like what I could do to kind of contribute. Like most people, I see social problems all the time and just complain about them. But, it's nice to try to be a part of the solution in some small way. And I feel like group homes allows us to kind of fill that niche.
Definitely, definitely. You're doing it in
Mhm.
more than just a small way. You're impacting multiple people's lives right now. So excited to dive into that. I did not know that was your background. So I'm really glad I asked you that question. Wow.
Mhm.
Sorry for your loss.
Uh,
Um,
My husband was a good guy, but he was sick for a long time. So I was like a personal caregiver as well as working in the field. And if it's one thing I know, any field that you're in, when you got to go to work and then come home and work, even though you're doing it from a place of love, right?
right.
It's still very taxing. And I think that part of the appeal for the group home part is providing the housing. Like
Mhm.
my home, I'm not going to provide any medical care. I'll give advice, I'll make referrals, but I will not like write prescriptions and things like that.
Yeah, and I think everyone has, in because we're all solving a problem, right? We're trying to help people that are homeless. There's a huge homeless need in the United States and other
And
places
getting
around the world
worse.
as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
and getting worse. So, and everyone has a different role that they can play in that. Our role is the housing side of things, but like you
Yeah.
said, we're not providing case management services. We're not helping with medications or any other services. But we do housing so that someone can focus on their blood pressure or
Yeah.
something else that they may need, maybe getting a driver's license. Who knows what that is?
Hmm.
But they know where they're sleeping at night, so they're able to go out and focus on those things. So couldn't agree with you more there. How long did it take you to go from idea to actually opening up your doors for the group home?
Whew, that's a good question. So I actually first started thinking about it during the pandemic and wasn't really sure which way to go with it. During the pandemic, I was back in New York where I grew up. And I started doing research. That's kind of where everybody gets stuck at the research, right? Because no matter how much you learn, you always feel like you're not ready. And spent way too much money buying information.
Mm,
And it wasn't until last year,
hmm.
actually, that I really took the plunge and rented out a place and started. So yeah, so it's been about 4 years.
Wow. When you start talking openly about what you're doing and making steps, I truly believe that God starts showing more of
Oh
the
my
picture.
goodness, yes.
Your brother probably had those funds ready for you, but you weren't ready to receive it yet, and because you hadn't made the decision to open up that home. So I love that story and testimony and just how God will continue to open up doors as
He
you're
really
you're
will.
moving through the process.
Hmm.
What were some of the biggest challenges you faced in getting your home up and running, and how did you overcome them?
I think one of the biggest challenges was finding a home, right? Because I wasn't really comfortable talking about what I was planning to do,
Yeah.
right? And a lot of landlords, they're just not ready.
Yep.
They're like, "Who you gonna put in there? We gonna need to do a background check on everybody who comes and all that." And I'm thinking to myself, how is that gonna work? And then, crazily enough, somebody posted a place for rent in my area in the newbie group. I was like, huh. So I reached out and saw the place, decided to take it. And the day when I was going to sign the lease and we met, he said to me, when I posted it in that group, I was surprised you were like the only person who responded. And I was like, really? Because I mean, it's a group. It had over 10,000 people, and we're all trying to do the same thing.
Yep.
And then he said, I thought I was really shocked that it was just you. He said, but today somebody called me on the way over and said, did I look into my spam folder? Or like when you on Messenger, if you're not directly friends, then it goes in a different folder that you have to acknowledge before you can see. And he said, when he went in there, he had about 50 messages
Wow.
from people, but mine was the only one that he actually saw.
You
So
made
that's
it
how
through.
I ended up with the place. I'm like, talk about
Let's go,
somebody,
God.
God eliminating the competition. What?
I
So
love that.
yeah, so that was, I feel like sometimes when things are just meant to be, they're just gonna happen. And then when I got the place, of course, then it's furnishing it,
Yeah.
right? And I was just started, talking to my family, mother-in-law and stuff, and she was like, "Well, I have all this furniture because old people they don't part with their stuff. They'll buy new stuff." But and when I walked out on her lanai, she had like a whole apartment out there: table, chairs, couches, end tables, side tables. And she was just like, "Yeah, you could take that." And I got her stuff. And then I started looking in my house, and I got a whole bunch of furniture because
Hmm.
I moved from New York to here, and then this house is bigger, so you buy more stuff.
Right.
And I actually took some of the pieces out of my house and put them in the home as well. So, and of course I went to Goodwill, and I went to, what's the other one? Salvation Army, and just like secondhand stores and stuff, because people really get rid of nice things. And a lot of times when people get rid of stuff, it's not because it's broken or something like that. They just want to change their furniture.
Right. Did you try Habitat for Humanity?
I did. They had like a Habitat store,
Yeah.
and I got some stuff from them too.
I
I think it's
love
called
that.
Restore or something
Yep.
like that. Yeah.
Yep. Habitat for
hmm
Humanity Restore always has really good plugs on
Yeah,
furniture.
yeah, yeah. So, and
Yep.
that was, and then the other thing was the home that I rented, it's not really updated, right?
Okay.
And I was, in Florida, we're so used to new things, right? We move into a house, it's got to be new with granite and this and that. And so when we look in an older home, we're like, what's all of this?
Hmm.
But somebody, my partner, he said to me, he's had a bit of a checkered past in his youth.
Okay.
And he said to me, you know what? He said, when people want a place to stay, we don't care about granite countertops and, fancy tile. He
Right.
said, we don't want roaches and we don't want rats.
Yep.
He said, is the place clean? And it is, it's a clean place. And he really kind of helped me to kind of change my vision, right? Because I'm looking at it as it's got to be updated, it's got to be this, but it really doesn't. It just has to be clean and everything in like workable condition.
A clean, safe roof over their head is what they're
Yeah.
looking for and
Yeah.
what they need. And it's a lot better than a lot of the shelters that they would have the option
Oh my
to
goodness.
stay at,
Yes.
or even worse, staying in a tent or just outside.
I
Unfortunately,
know. Especially in Florida.
especially
Woo,
especially in
outside in
Florida.
a tent. Listen, just walking from my house to my car, where I work up a sweat. So I can't even imagine trying to live outside in this kind of heat.
And it doesn't even cool down that much at nighttime either.
I,
So
I know it's sunny heat or dark heat, but it's still
exactly.
heat.
It heat is heat. Yeah. Since opening up, let's talk about some proud moments. Get people excited about why they should get into this business. Since opening up, what's one story or moment that has really stuck with you and reminded you of why you do this?
I feel like the majority of the people, that require our services have some kind of mental health background, whether it's diagnosed or not. And honestly, since the pandemic, we all got a little mental health background, but it's just more noticeable because they're unhoused, right?
Yep.
Um, and I've had more than one person who had like a mental break, and it that's when I really came to understand more about mental health, because that's not really a population that I worked a lot with, and it was a big learning curve, because it's like, why you acting crazy? How you just woke up on a Tuesday and you acting like this? What happened? But a lot of times they have triggers, or they have situations that they're dealing with that we don't know about. My population is women at this time,
Okay.
and we a lot. As a female myself, we are a lot. Okay. And they just going through things. And the last person, I actually convinced her to go to the hospital and get some help. I don't know if she'll come back. I don't know if I'll take her back, but I was just really glad that she was open to seeking out the help that she needs
Hmm.
you
So it
know
sounds like you kind of guided her and gave her that, push in the right direction that, and
Yeah,
maybe had a tough conversation with her that other
I
people were
did.
avoiding having.
I did. It's not sometimes, I'm not someone who's very confrontational,
Hmm.
just in my general lifestyle and personality. But
Yep.
I have found that, especially since I've been nursing for so long, like with my patients, I have to be confrontational.
Yeah.
And I found that with this population, you have to be confrontational. You have to just, lay it out for them. You can't live here like this. You
Right.
know, you got to get some help. How can we help? How can we do that? How can we get somebody to come and help you, or you to go somewhere and seek help?
Yeah.
And luckily, they've been, so far, people have been receptive. I haven't really had any like physical or major issues in the home.
You got to set those clear house rules.
Yeah, you do. You do.
Have to set those clear house rules. How has opening the home changed you as an individual?
I think it has made me more grateful for what I have and my circumstances.
Yeah.
It's made me appreciate at my big age the sacrifices that my parents had made for us to
Right.
have a stable home and a stable life. And I growing up, you always see homeless people, right? If you kind of look past them, or why they like that, or a little judgy.
Hmm.
I admit I was definitely one of those. And I feel like this being in this space has taught me that, everybody's got a story. And you know what they say, there but for the grace of God. Right? It could happen to anyone. And I feel like it's made me a little more empathetic. Right? In nursing, you become very jaded sometimes. You see a lot, and you have to kind of protect your heart.
Right.
Otherwise, you'll be an emotional wreck and no good to anybody.
Right.
And I feel like being in this space has allowed me to reconnect with my empathy and just be a little more present for some of these people.
Man, that's a really good point, Sandra. And I think that's going to hit home with a lot of people, especially in the medical field, because, my girlfriend's a nurse and she talks about it, how, she's been bedside, she's done home health, she's been in, mental health units. And it is tough. There's so much going on that you guys are
It
dealing
is.
with and
It
seeing
is.
throughout the day. And you can't react necessarily how you normally would emotionally in that moment. Because like you said, then you'd be up and down all
Yeah.
day of the most
You'll need
emotional wreck.
medication.
Right, right. You have to swap with one of the
Hmm.
clients. So yeah, that's really good. That this kind of, and I love that this business gave you an opportunity to have that empathy side come back for the people that
Yeah.
you're able to help house. Good stuff. Good stuff. Wow, I've never thought about that before, but that's beautiful. Now you're also a proud member of the Kingdom Housing community, and you actually hopped in when early stages when I was still building it out. So what impact has the community had on your journey?
Again, the importance of community and support and just being around people who are on the same journey really cannot be reinforced. And
Right.
I feel like the beauty of school and Facebook, but I think school is a better platform for this particular model
Mm-hmm.
because of the constraints on Facebook.
For
And
sure.
being in this community, being able to post a question, get feedback in a timely manner, and you jumping in my DMs like, "Hey, what's going on? How can I help?" Just knowing that I have that it really means a lot. It really does. And I never understood the importance of that until I really jumped into this journey, right? I mean, we all I'm kind of the end of the boomer era. So, we're big on Facebook. We're not really into IG and all that other stuff.
Yep.
But, we like Facebook. We go on it, we play, we communicate, but it really is a good platform, right? To with the school and kingdom housing and stuff like that. And again, when you bring in like the speakers, because even like business funding and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times we want to expand and do those things, but we don't know what to do, or what we need to do. And by you bringing in that gentleman, Gladstone, he's very
Shout out
knowledgeable
Money
and
Man G.
yeah, and very giving with his time. And
Yep.
even just everyone, because sometimes even though people are just starting, we're all over the place, right? And you may not have a lot of knowledge about one thing, but you might have one thing that's your thing.
Yep.
And if I ask a question about something I don't know, and then somebody says, "Hey, well, I work in that field and XYZ," that is really, it's like having like your own think tank,
Right.
you know?
Absolutely.
And while ChatGPT is great, sometimes you want to hear from live people.
A real person. For
Yes,
sure.
in real life experience.
For sure. Yeah. And I think too, and you touched on it earlier, when you're starting a new business venture, it doesn't have to be this space. And you are doing all this research. And so you're getting, filled with, okay, how this can work, what you would do in this situation, what you would do in that situation. But then maybe you try to go share that excitement with a brother or a sister or a cousin or an auntie or an uncle.
Hmm.
And they're maybe not discouraging you, like you said, but they're questioning your
Your
belief
judgment.
in yeah, in a nicer way, judging you on all right, are you sure of this? Well, what if this happens? What if that happens? And just
Hmm.
thinking of all the negative things that can go
Yes.
wrong, versus if you are inside of a community, we're working with you on the positive side of things of like, okay,
Hmm.
yeah, you can do this. You are the person who could do it. If you want to do it, it's been done
Hmm.
before, which means you could do it too, right? The other person
And
who
even
did
the
it,
bad things though,
even the bad
hey, i
stuff.
got i got a resident, how I'm gonna get them out, they're not paying rent, they real in the community, you know what I'm
Yep.
saying? You put it out there and people will tell you, hey, this is what you got to do, or check this resource, or because a lot in the past, when you're learning, you're only hearing about the good things, right?
Hmm.
The impact and the potential revenue, and how you're going to be a resource and all this stuff. But what about when your bed's awful and you still
Hmm.
got to come up with that rent money for the month and do all the things that you have to do for your lifestyle as well, And in being in, Kingdom Housing in this community, you get to post the bad stuff, and, sometimes you get discouraged,
Yeah.
right? And you post it, and then somebody will give you another viewpoint or
Yep.
maybe even another avenue to explore. All of that, that's invaluable. It really is.
For sure. Yeah, we show up as we are. And
Hmm.
the other thing too is when you're starting a business, that doesn't mean your life stops. So we've had
No.
people,
Okay.
suffering with things going on in their personal life, whether it be
Hmm.
the loss of a loved one, family members getting sick. That stuff
Yeah.
happens, and you still have to, balance dealing with that
Figure
and
it out.
figuring it out with your
Figure it
business.
out. I
And
had recently I got sick. I had to go get my gallbladder out emergently, and one of
wow,
my residents was moving out, and I'm in the hospital all balled up in the bed waiting for my pain medicine, and I'm getting texts about, oh, and where should I leave the key, and when I'm gonna come back for my food, and I was like, I don't care.
just leave.
Just get out, take your stuff and go. Life doesn't stop. You got to be responsible, and try to still manage. If you have a partner that can step in, that's really good. But a lot of times in the beginning, it's just you.
For
It's
sure.
just you. So
Where do you see your home and maybe even your business going in the next 1 to 2 years?
I had hoped by now, because I got this home in January, and I didn't really get my first resident until like March. And I had hoped to have more residents and more consistency, because I was really hoping to move, to get a second house. But that didn't work out. So I feel like my progress is still progress, but I feel like it's slower.
Hmm.
So I would hope to have either a second home, or maybe give up this home and have a bigger home in the new year.
Let's do it. And you know what you gotta do to up
Ooh,
the
that
progress.
marketing.
We
Listen,
gotta up the marketing. You know it.
I I still, I think the hardest part when you're starting out especially is that you got to work. You know what I'm saying? And then you have to fit your marketing around your work schedule. So my marketing has been a bit untraditional in that I haven't really made a lot of in-person visits.
Hmm.
I've tried to keep up with the calling, but it's been a lot of emailing, reaching back out, and somebody mentioned that I forgot the expression, but basically it said the progress is in the follow up, and I'm finding that that's really true. You have to consistently get your stuff out there, and I'm gonna keep at it.
As you should. I'm gonna keep
Hmm.
checking in on you too.
I know that's
For,
right, and
for
I appreciate that. I do.
Absolutely. For someone maybe on the fence about getting started in this business and considering it, what advice would you tell them?
Take imperfect action. Somebody said that to me a while back. Take imperfect action. Go ahead and get started. If you have the funds or you can get the funds together, then go ahead and do it. I've heard of people starting in their own home. It depends on how bad you want it, right? If you got an empty room or if you have access to a space that you can potentially start with, then do it.
Take imperfect action. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I always say done is better than perfect because perfect is never done.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. And I think back and I'm like, I started thinking about this and doing my research back in 2020. And if I would have started back then, I would have already been in business like 5, 6 years now.
Yep.
Again, hey, you just got to start.
Just got to start for sure. Well, Sandra,
Mhm.
thank you so much. Then we can end it there with that positive message. Really appreciate you taking the time to hop on and share your wisdom with everybody. And I'm looking forward to having you back on a later date
All right.
as you get property 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 up and running.
Mm.
Let's go.
From your lips to God's ears.
Let's go. All right. You have a good one. We'll talk to you next
You
time.
too. Thank you for having me. Bye bye.